Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. This is Samin Siddiqui and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have with me Windies former cricketer turned commentator, Mr. Ian Bishop. He's represented Windies in 43 tests and maybe for one day in international. He's now seen doing commentary in various leagues around the world and in international cricket. First of all, Bish, what's up and how's everything going?
Thanks for having me. It's going slowly because, like a lot of other countries in the world, Trinidad and Tobago is in a phase of lockdown as well, not as stringent as some other countries. But we're doing quite well, actually. The numbers of infected are quite low. So, yeah, you know, I'm just using the time to spend with my family and to rebond and reconnect.
Okay. My first question comes here, Bish. You have represented Windies from 1988 till 1998. So how was that overall experience playing on your country?
Great. No regrets whatsoever. When I was young, like every kid growing up in the Caribbean or in Trinidad and Tobago, or should I say a lot of kids, we had a great admiration because the West Indies were the #1 team in the world at the time that I entered my teenage years or just before. So there was always a great passion for the game, a great following, and personally from myself. So I never really thought I would ever play for the West Indies or could ever play. I never thought I'd be good enough. So having represented them for just over 40 test matches, it could have been more. It could have been more barring injury, but I'm happy to have played.
Okay. You took around 100 wickets in 21 test matches. A fast bowler who showed a lot of potential when you came. But like you said, your career was cut short with full of injuries. So were you disappointed that you couldn't play it for the Windies much more?
Yes, I mean, to be honest, hampered by injuries, the first one occurring, I think, in 1991 when I had a stress fracture of the back. I came back a couple of seasons later in 92, 93. It reoccurred again. And really, after the remodeled action, I never felt as comfortable post-injuries as I did pre-injuries. So there was some anguish that I had to go through when the first stress fracture occurred because I thought my career would have been over at age 21, 22. But I went through that period and came back. But all in all, as I reflect, I am very happy to have played because it's only a limited number of folks get to play for the West Indies and to play international cricket. So I have no, as I said before, I have no regrets. I accept it for what it was.
Okay. Which performance has a bowler was your favorite and that you will cherish forever?
Wow. Let me just say that I'll just go back to the start. When I found out I was selected, first of all, to play for the West Indies, I was on my way to Northern England to play for a club up there. And as I got off the bus in Northern England, having flown from Trinidad to the UK, the chairman of the club came up to me and he said, "You're not going to be playing for us this season." So I thought, this is strange. Why am I not? Am I sacked already? He said, "No, the West Indies have selected you." And I remember trying to go to sleep that night. I watched the sun go down and come up. So that was how big a goal it was for me. So if I had to choose one performance was my 6 for 40 against Australia at the WACA in Western Australia. Simply because I really think that the WACA pitch back then was the best fast bowling surface in the world. Australia were a very tough team, although many of my colleagues and I, not the entire team, but many of my colleagues along with myself, thought that at specific times during my playing career, Pakistan were the team that most reminded us of ourselves in the way that they play.
Okay, Bish, during 1980s and 1990s, Windies were the most dangerous team to face. I mean, but after that, in the mid 2000, there was a sudden decline in the team's performance. So, what do you think was the main reason for that?
There are a lot of reasons, and I suppose the restriction of time won't allow us to get into a comprehensive analysis of it. But in a broad brush, I think administratively we did not put the structures in place and have those, whatever informal structures were there, did not evolve with the times, the changing social climate, economic climate, but also a lot of the other teams in the world started building, looking at us, assessing our weaknesses, but also building their own structures and strengths. So we were overtaken. And one of the challenges we have in the Caribbean as well is that because of where we're located, and it's a conglomeration of small islands, maybe 6-7 million English-speaking people, it's not a big cadre to choose from, and it's economically challenged. So our foundations and structures haven't always been benefiting the huge talents that we have in the Caribbean. So, but I see some positive signs to that. The T20 cricket is something that West Indies have gravitated towards with 2 world titles. So we found a niche that I think we're exploiting well.
Okay, from last 2 years or so, Windies Cricket Board has managed to get them main players like Gayle, Pollard, Dwayne Bravo is back now, and Andre Russell. So how important was for them to get these players back in the team? And now Windies are performing well. So how important was it?
Very important to have those guys back, because you look at Andre Russell's record at various T20 franchises around the world. Whichever teams he represents win a lot of championships. Dwayne Bravo has been a stalwart in the IPL along with Kieron Pollard. And Chris Gayle, of course, his record speaks for itself as he comes down towards the end of his career. So I think as big names, one, it's great to have them back to be crowd pullers. But 2, the experience that they bring when they come back into the West Indies fold can help develop the other players. So I think it's been a good job on the part of those players and the administrations over the last couple of years to get those guys involved and for those guys to make the sacrifices to come back. They're not involved in Test match cricket, and that is difficult, but the landscape of the game has changed, and you will know that even with some of your own players back at home, that a lot of money now is in the T20 format, and I don't blame players for making a choice of which particular component they play.
Okay, Bish, you are having a very good success in this commentary field, and you are known for your energetic commentary. The most common question which I always receive from a fan, that what makes you a good commentator and what skills one should require to be that?
What I would say to anyone who asks that question is, no one commentator appeals to everyone. I think everyone is different and they look for certain things from a commentator. But I think the underlying principle is that you must love watching the game as a commentator. You must have a good understanding of the game, and you must be able to communicate that. And when I say communicate that, to be able to explain why something happened, what needs to happen going forward, and to create that sense of excitement with undulating intonations in the voice. So to build that suspense and that drama, but really be able to explain the game, teach, inform, and entertain, which I think in a nutshell, that's it.
Okay, your sentence, Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name, made headlines when Windies won the 2016 World T20. So, as a West Indian, how memorable and emotional that moment was?
Huge. It's hard to put into words the passion that I felt, because obviously being a West Indian, when you become a commentator, you're not a flag waver for your team. If it's Pakistan or if it's England, if it's a New Zealand commentator, he's not waving the flag for his team. What he is doing is he's bringing a perspective of the players from his home nation. So when Carlos hit those 4 sixes with 19 required of the final over, he finished it in 4 balls. I felt overjoyed for the players, because really the commentators aren't the stars of the show. It's the players who are the stars, and Carlos and Marlon and the team made that moment. So what I extolled at the end when I said Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name, I think someone from Pakistan on social media challenged me the other day, and they said, Bish, are you disappointed in the line? I said, no, I'm not. I said, why should I be? He said, well, look at where Carlos Brathwaite's game has gone. He's lost the captaincy. He hasn't lived up. And look at where Ben Stokes has gone since that night. And I said to him, look, when I said remember the name, I didn't use it as a forecast of where Carlos or Ben were going to go. It was to remember Carlos's name, because he had a miraculous innings and he will be remembered forever for winning the West Indies 2 World T20 titles, which no one else to this point has done.
Okay. Bish, before the 20th over in the World T20 final, when 19 runs were required, what was the overall atmosphere in the commentary box? Because to be honest, England for the hot favorites tend to offend that, and I personally, I was watching that live. I also said that now it's all over for the Windies. But how was the and did you personally from heart thought that our Windies gonna pull this off?
I will say that maybe around the middle of the West Indies batting effort, with about 10, 11, 12 overs gone, they fell behind the tempo. And I'll explain why I said that if time allows. The West Indies are a very powerful, dynamic, boundary-hitting team. And if they do get caught out in T20 cricket, it's when the boundaries aren't coming. They don't run singles and they don't manipulate the ball very well historically. So they fell behind a lot. Marlon Samuel starts his innings very slowly. So entering that last over with 19 required, I hadn't given up within my heart, but I thought this is a mountain to climb and it would need a miracle. And as Marlon said, he said at the beginning of the over, he went to Carlos and he just said, swing for the hills. And every delivery just came in the right slot for Carlos. And he was brilliant. Carlos can bat. People don't in Test cricket in 4 Test matches. He's a proper player.
Okay. Which what further expressions of your fellow English commentators at that time? Because before the 20th over, their voice was like they were full confident, like in England's gonna win that. So what was the and what were the expressions when Carlos hit those 4 sixes and Windies pulled off a stunner? What were the expressions of the English commentators?
Uh, Look, I'll be honest. I was sitting beside David Lloyd, who was the lead commentator. So you understand commentary very well. You've got the lead commentator who's calling the ball by ball action. And I was sitting in what we call the analyst chair. So I would come in with only specialized comments. And David is very professional. David is very objective, as much as you can expect from a human being. And I think the entire commentary box generally. So what the commentators try to do is, regardless of whose team is out front in the game, we try to give that excitement equally across the board. And David just said, with a couple of balls to go, he said, Bish, you called the moment. And that was magnanimous of him. I didn't ask for it, but I just accepted, hey, he's passed the baton, and we went with it. But the commentary box itself, I think we were all excited because it was a great game.
Okay, Bish, these new Windies cricketers are very good, like Nicholas Puran, Fabian Allen, Kimo Paul, like O'Shane Thomas. So how long do you see these guys playing for the West Indies? Because they are the most demanded players in the T20 leagues, also like IPL, PSL. So how do you see them serving West Indies long in the future?
Wow, that's a tough question, because I know a lot of those guys well. I know Nicholas Puran, who's highly talented. I think the next real West Indian world-class batsman, even if it's only in white ball cricket. Shimron Hetmeyer, very talented. Those names, Fabian Allen, O'Shane Thomas, you called. So I think because of the landscape, you've got 3 different segments of the game: Test match, 50 over, T20. Those guys are going to specialize in one form or 2 forms or the other. Very difficult for them to play 3 formats for a long period of time. And administrators have a difficult job. I just hope, and I don't have a problem with the guys specializing in a format, that they give, and they're willing, I know they are willing to give back to the West Indies their all, because that is where their career started. So make your money, earn your money in the leagues overseas, but when West Indies calls upon you, make yourself available, and those guys are willing to do that.
Okay, Fish, how long personally do you see Chris Gayle and Dwayne Bravo playing for or the Windies? Because Bravo just came in out of his retirement, and Gayle is like on a break. So how long do you see these senior cricketers playing for long? How long?
If is the appropriate term, if there is a World T20 in October this year, Bravo has made himself available. Not that he's already selected, but he's made himself available for selection. I think it's a good thing, because he brings a wealth of knowledge of the T20 game. I don't know if he will go beyond 2020 at international level. Less likely, I think, is Chris Gayle, who, as you said, is on a little bit of a break. Chris's form has dipped in recent times. His body, the toll cricket has taken on his body, he's never had a very sprightly body anyway, as powerful a striker as he is. So I would not be surprised. I am not calling his retirement, but I would not be surprised if we have seen all of Chris Gayle at international level, at least.
Yeah, obviously, Chris Gayle is a batsman who, if he gets going, he can smash the opposition very hard. And we Pakistani fans are missing him in the PSL from the last 2-3 years for sure.
Yes.
Okay, Bish, this is my second last question from you. Do you have any plans to commentate in the Pakistan Super League in the near future if your schedule allows you? Because you did only in 2017, and after that you were not seen, and we fans really love you in Pakistan. Pakistani fans are big, really appreciate your commentary here. So whenever the commentary panel is announced of the PSL and your name is not there in the comment section, I usually see Ferris Bish, man. Ferris Bish. So what's your plans of returning to this league in the future?
I appreciate those sentiments, and I can guarantee Pakistan viewership that the feeling is mutual. I've always said when the Pakistani players, and particularly the fast bowlers and spinners, come to the Caribbean Premier League, I just love what they bring. I have a great regard for Pakistan cricket, as I said to you earlier, because of my playing days. So anytime the schedule allows me to come, I will come to Pakistan. I have no problems with touring Pakistan. The problem has been that every time since 2017 that the PSL has been on, there is either a home series in the Caribbean, or as was the case this year, there was the Women's T20 World Cup. But if there is any opportunity to come, I shall make myself available at least.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna love here. I mean, the whole PSL is back in Pakistan with in front of the jam-packed stadiums. It's surely the best league. Okay, Vish, it's a last question. What is your message to your fans? What message you would like to give?
Look, twofold. It's a difficult time for almost every country around the world, and for so many people with this pandemic that is plaguing nations and economies. So I know that cricket is on the back burner, as it should be. People are losing loved ones. Many jobs are being lost. So I would just like to say my heart goes out to everyone around the world, whether it's in Asia, in Europe, in the Caribbean. And let's just love each other, because once this pandemic ceases to exist, we will have to show a lot more kindness to each other. And I love Pakistan. I love the Pakistan people. I love the Pakistan cricketers, and I wish you guys every success in the world, except when they play.
Thank you so much, Bish. Thank you so much, Bish. Guys, here was in Bishop, and Bish, thank you so much for taking your precious time out for this interview. So guys, that's all from here, and I'll see you again